Well, I was a professional meteorologist for 34 years, so always had an interest in things up above the Earth's surface. I was born and grew up, though, in Central Florida, not too far from Cape Canaveral, and so I always had an interest in space and the space program as well. We were close enough that we could go out in the backyard and watch the Apollo launches. I'll date myself a little bit there, watching the Apollo launches, the first of the shuttle launches and the like. So really it always had an interest in space as well as our atmosphere. But it really wasn't until about the summer of 2020 that the idea of photographing those objects in our night sky really started to speak to me. There was a bright comet that was supposed to be in the sky those summer evenings in July 2020. Comet Neowise it was called, and I thought, I want to go out and try to get photographs of Neowise. I had no idea what I was doing, but I took my camera and my tripod, and we were living in Bartlett, Tennessee at the time, and found a fairly dark area, pointed where I thought the comet would be, and took a picture and didn't see anything. So I adjusted a little bit and took a picture and didn't see anything. Finally, I got a picture and there was a little blurry smudge in the middle of the picture, and it's like, oh my gosh, I think that's it. And so I zoomed in and did a little longer exposure, and sure enough, there it was with the tail and everything coming off of it. And I thought, this is really amazing. And so the bug really bit me at that point, that this was a passion I really wanted to pursue. Well, as I've grown as an astrophotographer, I have started seeing more in common with the art community, and wanted to start networking with other artists that were in the area. So to be perfectly bluntly honest, I just did a web search, and Art Club of McKinney was the first return that came. So I did some research on the Art Club, looked at the website, and decided to come check out a meeting late in the 2024-2025 season. And just absolutely loved it. One of the things that really struck me was how welcoming everybody in the club is, because while I'm doing some art, I'm still basically a science techno nerd at heart, and it's probably not what most would consider a mainstream medium of art, but it didn't matter to the people in the art club. They were very welcoming, very accommodating, very early on made me feel like a part of the club, and that made me convinced that I made the right decision. Well, astrophotography is very different from traditional photography, where you just line up and take the snapshot and all is good. The objects that I photograph are very large up in the night sky, but they are extremely faint. So I have to put in usually several hours of camera exposure time to be able to bring out the image. And I then take the raw data, do post-processing to it to remove the electronic noise, to remove the light pollution, which is becoming a bigger problem here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, color balance, color contrast, and the like. And the results are images such as these. This is an image of what's called the Witch Head Nebula. It's actually a large cloud of dust and gas. It's near the constellation Orion, and the dust is actually illuminated by the very bright star Rigel. And this was one that actually a colleague and I collaborated on. We have the same type of camera and the same type of telescope, so we could both take images of this area and combine that data to produce what we got here. And you can see where it gets its nickname from. The dust cloud looks very much like the profile of a witch's head, the hooked nose, the protruding chin, and everything. And the red areas that you see are actually clouds of ionized hydrogen gas, ionized by the radiation from the stars nearby. This particular image took about 12 hours of camera time to be able to produce what we see here. The other image here on this side is from last October. This is Comet Tsuchinshan Atlas, and almost kind of coming full circle as far as my astrophotography journey has been concerned. Again, I started with NEOWISE back in 2020. Tsuchinshan Atlas was a bright comet in the evening skies last October, and this was actually from Lake Whitney State Park. This, I used a 180 millimeter telescope, so basically like a 180 millimeter camera lens for you photographers out there, and this is about 20 minutes or so of camera time, 30-second exposures, and I did about 20 or so of those exposures, 20-30 of those exposures to produce the image here. Astrophotography has been an extremely rewarding hobby for me because it checks off a lot of boxes for me. It lets me keep involved with science, which again was my career, lets me get involved with the technology as well, the telescopes and the systems for tracking the objects across the sky, but it also satisfies my artistic and composition urge as well. If someone wanted to get involved in astrophotography, I would recommend starting small. It can be very easy with the equipment that's needed to dive into the deep end and get yourself overwhelmed with the learning curve and the technology and whatnot. So I would recommend starting small, starting just with your camera and tripod, starting out with pictures of the moon, some of the bigger constellations and star formations like the Big Dipper or the constellation Orion in the wintertime, some good examples that we can use, and then grow as your experience base grows, and your creative soul will tell you when you're ready to move on to the next level and take the step up. Also, networking for me, networking with the club members has been beneficial for my artistic motivation and getting some ideas about composition and framing and the like. But also reach out to the astronomy clubs in the area, other experienced astrophotographers. I didn't have the benefit of a personal mentor, but a lot of experienced astrophotographers talk about their techniques and tips online, YouTube videos and the like, and those were very beneficial for me. And so I try to pay it forward whenever I can and help out the budding astrophotographers as well. I think the last tip that I would give is to, and this really can apply for any art medium, if things aren't going the way you want or you feel they should be, don't get frustrated with it. Just maybe that's time to take a breath, take a step back, set it aside for a day or two, and then come back to it with a fresh perspective and a fresh set of eyes. And with all the finicky systems that have to work together in astrophotography, I find myself doing that fairly regularly as I'm moving along. But start small, network, grow as your soul tells you, and just don't get frustrated and overwhelmed. As I've progressed in my astrophotography journey, I have tried to expand my horizons a little bit. I have entered some of my pieces in art shows and have been fortunate to be selected for art shows, the Rockwall Art Show last September. I've also had several of my works in public installations. The Audie Murphy Museum over in Greenville had about 25 of my works on display for a 3-month period. And currently, 2 of my pieces are on display in the new McKinney City Hall, the Art in the Hall exhibits that they have there. So, yeah, I have been fortunate to have some of my pieces recognized by, I wouldn't even say peers, I don't think, but maybe superiors as far as the art community is concerned. And that's really rewarding, you know, not from the standpoint of the art being selected, but from the standpoint of being able to share some of the beautiful things which are up there in our night skies. One of the things that has really helped me recently in my astrophotography journey has been the Art Club of McKinney. and the membership, from the officers on down to the rank and file members, have been just so accommodating and so welcoming to me, as kind of an outsider with a sort of a fringe sort of art medium, but that hasn't mattered. So if you are an artist and if you're looking for a place to network and share experiences and share ideas, I couldn't think of a better place than the Art Club of McKinney.